the infamous Hank Palmer.
The jaded lawyer with no respect for the law.
Did that just happen?
How does it feel knowing every person you represent is guilty?
It's fine. Innocent people can't afford me.
Hello, welcome to The Flick. Christy Lemire, William Bibiani, and I'm so pumped that Tim Grierson is here, one of my favorite people in the entire world.
What?
He writes Europe for Deadspin. He writes for a lot of people.
Yeah, Screen International, Playboy. I'm kind of all over the place.
As we all have 6 jobs and we all have no job. Okay, so Tim is here. I'm so pumped to have him for his first time here. And he's going to describe The Judge, which we all learned is not the prequel to Judge Dredd.
Unfortunately not.
Yes.
Yeah, The Judge stars Robert Downey Jr. as a hotshot Chicago lawyer. You know he's a hotshot Chicago lawyer because he talks big and is kind of a jerk. He goes to Indiana because his mother dies. He's reunited with his estranged father, who is a judge in this local community, played by Robert Duvall. They don't like each other. They don't want to spend time with each other. Robert Downey Jr. can't wait to get back to Chicago, but fate intervenes when Duvall gets into a car crash with someone who turned out to be someone that he sent off to prison for 20 years and is just now out. And people think that perhaps Duvall meant to run this person over and kill him. So unfortunately for Robert Downey Jr., he has to stay in town even longer to defend his father, who doesn't want him to even defend him.
All rise. Is there anything either counsel care to add?
My mom passed away this morning.
Built these walls of stone.
God, here we go.
And they crumble back today.
We can barely stand the sight of each other.
Henry?
Judge? Hank Palmer.
Hank, Sheriff White. It's regarding your father.
Biggest mistake of your career and you just happen to run him over?
Forensics found traces of blood on your dad's car.
I sat on the bench in that courtroom for 42 years. This was an accident, period.
Can't stay.
You're a lawyer, he is your father. You leave now, you will regret it.
You're a shined-up wooden nickel, Mr. Palmer. I'm going to impale your client on a first-degree murder charge, and you get a front row seat.
So I felt like I was watching The Great Santini as Iron Man's dad. Because Robert Duvall is very much in like driving asshole dad mode, and Robert Downey Jr. is in that patented like quick talking, glib kind of smartass mode.
Everyone's kind of playing to type. Vera Farmiga is playing to type. Vincent D'Onofrio is actually very quiet and barely in the movie. I don't even know why he's here. For me, this movie was just laughable. I laughed a lot at this movie. I didn't want to. I like the cast. The premise isn't a terrible idea. It's a good little potboiler John Grisham-y kind of thing.
I was going to say, it's like a 1990s John Grisham novel.
Exactly, but it would be like if you gave a solid potboiler John Grisham novel to James L. Brooks and told him the plot doesn't matter. That's what this is, and he just can't decide if it wants to be a feel-good family comedy or if it's going to take a murder seriously. It just can't, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, for me, what's really interesting about this movie is it's directed by David Dobkin, and Dobkin, you know, before this he made Wedding Crashers. You know,
he's The Internship.
And no, that was Sean Levy.
That was Sean Levy.
You're right. I confused him. You're right.
He did the Change Up, the other not good R-rated
To his
comedy.
credit, he also did Clay Pigeons, which was good.
Yes, but it was a very long time ago.
Yes, it was.
I think what's interesting to me is that, like, if you have the clout that Dobkin has, this is the movie that you decide you want to do. That this is sort of a serious, sort of heartwarming drama. It's a courtroom drama. It's a guy learns about himself by returning to his roots sort of film. I mean, you know, I understand it being sort of laughable. I wouldn't say I liked it either, but there's something that's sort of well made about just how hokey it is. I mean, this is a movie that for people who really like when Bon Iver underscores emotions in movies with his songs, it works really well in terms of that.
Talk about underscoring emotions. Here's the point of the movie where I just couldn't take it seriously anymore, and it's not a spoiler. So it's the second time Robert Downey Jr. is watching home movies with his family and crying because of how meaningful life is. And then he gets in like the 5th argument with his dad, and then just so that you know this is like a real argument, it's serious, and shit's hitting the fan. In the middle of the argument, Robert Duvall walks out into a hurricane so they can continue the argument there. And I'm like, so
It's a tornado. Yeah, they're in the shelter.
Okay,
it's
fine.
Still highly metaphorical.
Oh, it's such a metaphor. That is such a metaphor. It goes beyond metaphor and is just ridiculous. Like, I cannot take it seriously.
Well, I think what's exciting about this movie and another movie I saw at the Toronto Film Festival, this Indian film, is that this apparently is a new trend now where people walk through like either tornadoes or monsoons to emulate just how much like emotion they're feeling at that point. I mean, the movie is, like I said, is completely ridiculous. It's a type of film where I think at least 3 or 4 times when there are revelations in the courtroom scenes, the audience in the courtroom actually gasps, which I thought was not a thing that actually happens in courtrooms anymore, but apparently in Indiana you can gasp as much as you want at revelation.
Everything happens in the courtroom is very, very dramatic, especially given that we have Janusz Kaminski shot this, people. Okay, Spielberg's usual cinematographers, but every single interior has that smoky, streaming, dramatic light. I think Dobkin's trying so hard to make his very serious film and just so that he can make something of substance and to make sure he does not leave anything out. But there's there's so much. There's the murder, there's a death, and then there's a murder, and then there's a question of paternity, and then there is a tornado, and then there is a brother who's developmentally challenged, and every possible
there's a life-threatening
dramatic
disease at one point. Like, holy God!
So it's all crammed in there. This movie is like 2.5 hours long.
And
it keeps ending.
Yeah, it's got a Lord of the Rings ending where it just every scene is like, this would be a good place to end it. Okay, this would be a good place to end it. Okay, this would be, oh my God, end the movie. We get it. Everything's okay.
And that's the thing about the film, because like you said before, it feels like a movie that's based on an airport novel. And they had to make sure they were faithful to the original source material and just include everything. But there is no original source material. The script is, in fact, the original source material.
What's frustrating for me is that the family stuff gets in the way of the courtroom drama, and the courtroom drama gets in the way of the family stuff, to the point where by the time the plot actually ends and we see how this courtroom trial resolves, it doesn't really, there's not a satisfying conclusion. The entire thing just ends in like this really cathartic thing for Robert Downey Jr. Meanwhile, I'm picturing the actual judge in the case going, why aren't I stopping this? This has nothing to do with the case at this point. Why are we, I should really, it's late, I don't even care. Like, I don't.
Someone pointed out to me this is a lot like This Is Where I Leave You.
Yes.
In that, I think Cobb Buchanan, I have to give you the shout out for this, Cobb Buchanan from Vulture pointed out that it's like the exact same movie in that there is a death. And so all the disparate siblings have to come together. One is a little, not slow, but like useless in a lot of ways. It is babied. There is the girl who never left town. In that film, it is Rose Byrne. Here it is Vera Farmiga. And then there's catharsis. It's totally forced and empty catharsis at the end.
The movie I kept thinking of was Doc Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which is just the quintessential,
Coming home.
snarky guy. Well, it's not even home, but like snarky guy goes to small town, learns to like small town because small town is better. Small town is better. I don't know if you knew that, but small town is better.
I grew up in a small town, and this is not like any small town that I've actually ever experienced in the Midwest. I mean, the one thing I will say to the movie's credit, I think that it's the rare sort of Hollywood studio film that actually talks about aging. Robert Duvall, he has, I think it's stage 4 cancer, and he clearly has early, Alzheimer's he's being affected by that as well. And in terms of like just sort of seeing a man falling apart and decaying, I think a lot of times during Hollywood Oscar season, we see a lot of people dying. That's a way to win an Oscar. Sure. I think this movie is a little more honest about it because it makes it very unpleasant. It makes aging seem pretty awful, and it really is kind of honest about that. That's not nearly enough to recommend the film, but I think that's the one thing. I think that Duvall, who kind of does this in his sleep, does it very easily. He at least, I think, has a certain amount of gravitas to what he does in the film, which I think works well. Again, it's not enough to make up for tornado scenes and things like that.
There's good scenes, there's good moments, there's even some good performances, but it's always bookended with something really trite or cliche. And so even though there's this one really great scene with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall in a bathroom where it's just the age has really become a huge factor, and it's almost repugnant, but it feels honest. And then we have to go back to Billy Bob Thornton with his magical coffee cup, which unspools, and there's like an Aragorn unsheathing his sword noise, shing.
I don't know how you have with your experience with your own families, but this is the type of movie where if a family reunites, every secret that they've ever had is going to be expressed and then resolved. Because also the D'Onofrio character, the other brother, he has this whole backstory that we're going to learn about, which you think, okay, now you know it, but no, there's another wrinkle to it in terms of Downey Jr.'s relationship with his father. It's such a long, complicated, it's like you said, there's individual moments. Like if you watch this in 5-minute spurts on cable, you'll think, oh, I heard this movie wasn't very good, but it seems pretty good. Just stick with it. It will get bad as it goes along.
And it will keep going. Okay, so what is your number then, Tim Gerson? What do you give it?
I would give it a 5.
Okay, Dibs.
I'd give it a 2. I think it's one of the worst movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah, 3.3 for me, only for the Janusz Kaminski and lighting. Okay, so our average is 3.4. It's a 46% on the tomato meter. Watch and laugh unintentionally. Bye.